Alex, do you think that these kinds of tools are being used enough in the sports betting industry as a whole?
No. I would say, yeah.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Behind the Lines, the only podcast purifying the sports betting industry. Remember to like, download, subscribe, follow us on all the socials at inplayLIVE. And if you want to see what inplayLIVE is all about on the inside, we got a special promo code for you. That is the Behind the Lines, all caps promo code. All right, I am here with Andrew Pace, the founder of inplayLIVE, who's a regular on the show, but who is not a regular is Alex Monahan, the co-founder of Oddsjam, a website dedicated to providing the very best odds, giving you a tool to shop odds online, but it does a whole lot more than that. Alex, we are so excited to have you on the show. Welcome. How are you?
Great, doing great. Thanks for the intro and happy to be on.
Wonderful. So glad to have you. And, first, off the top of the show, I always say we are purifying the sports betting industry. I want to get your take on that and sort of, get you to kind of give me your take on what the sports betting landscape looks like in North America. We famously say on this show, we don't give out picks. We don't give out predictions. There's no crystal balls here. We talk about the landscape. So give me your thoughts on the North American sports betting landscape.
Yeah. So I've been betting a long time. And I'd say once it launched, I was living in Pennsylvania at the time when all the regulated sportsbooks came in. It's not that there weren't sportsbooks before, there weren't fantasy websites, but when kind of the money came into marketing, I'd say a lot of my friends who liked sports for the first time, they were now considering gambling. Whereas before, they could have bet, but using an offshore book or something like that was a little bit maybe too much of a burden. And I would say just you've just seen state after state fall in book after book, everyone wants to enter. I mean, some books have gone out of business or look like they're about to go out of business. Win, I think, is going out of business. But you see everyone wants a piece of, sports betting. They want a piece of the handle. You see ESPN trying to enter, PointsBet, Australian companies. So you really just got an influx of books, right? Everyone raising money and trying to start a sports book. I think Colorado has 25 regulated sports books. Maybe it's not that many. Same with New Jersey. But you just see a ton of books entering, a ton of money entering. And, for the customers who are more sophisticated, that's a good thing because all these books have different lines, different promos, stuff like that. So, when I really started to take sports betting seriously was when it got regulated because these books have a lot of money. They had a lot of good promos. And there were just a lot of profitable bets, a lot of inefficiencies in the market because you have all these books trying to, set lines themselves, FanDuel, DraftKings, Caesars. And they're really focused on growth.
Yeah, you mentioned all the sports books getting in, the inefficiencies and how, sophisticated sports bettors, can really kind of benefit from all of that. But a lot of recreational sports bettors out there, the vast majority of sports bettors are recreational sports bettors, not as many in sort of, the sophisticated bucket. And this is a whole industry, designed to profit off of people's losses, right?
Totally. Yeah.
How does Oddsjam try to sort of, improve that situation?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'd say that was kind of, one of the maybe reasons for starting Oddsjam was when sports betting legalized. And I wanted to learn more about some of these promos, some of these sports books. What is a risk-free bet? What is a profit boost? Is most of the content didn't speak to me. It was so much LeBron's knee, Lakers are a lock. I'm taking the Lakers. There wasn't much substance. And I guess I come from, I played poker. I come from a background where I'm kind of wanted to hear numbers, was used to thinking that way. And it just wasn't there. People recommending bets at -110, that would be their pick of the day if I looked on YouTube. Whereas I'd look on another book and it would be +110. And I was how does this make any sense? Clearly they're getting ripped off. So I think just ultimately Oddsjam is just kind of started to just like be an odds comparison site, because I'd say too, there were a lot of sites that had money line odds, maybe for like FanDuel and DraftKings, but a lot of the promos, a lot of the marketing from books centered around player props. A lot of books launching player props, markets getting hot that weren't before, nerfies, right? Yes, run first inning, like stuff like this that wasn't popular, didn't even exist when I started gambling, like back on the day on offshore books or anything like that. Like that's what's popular now, right? Like nerfies, anytime TD scores. So Oddsjam just kind of, the same concepts apply. You don't want to get ripped off. You don't want to bet something plus 300 if it's, on DraftKings at plus 600. So ultimately Oddsjam was just like, damn, like I'm using all this data, or like I want to see all this data. So like, how can we try to make a product that kind of like shows people the full length of stuff they can bet and maybe where there's opportunities and stuff like that. I mean, it is very common to see TD scores like 4 times the odds on certain sports books, and some books just like juicing their markets, essentially ripping people off. I mean, there's really no other way to put it.
Pays, Alex touching on some things there that you love to riff on. He used one of your favorite words, lock. And talking about the data and sort of seeing bad lines, he touched on the tipster culture as well, and people throwing out a line of minus 110, meanwhile you can get it plus 110 somewhere else. I mean, this is stuff that you've been seeing plenty of.
Yeah, I think if you just have never watched the Behind the Lines podcast, Alex just summed up the first 25 episodes in a couple minutes. I think obviously when it comes to the line shopping culture, I think there's actually something missing when it comes to the educational side of things. And he touched on it there without diving into it crazy deep. And it's that when you're looking at anytime touchdown scorer market as an example, oftentimes the option of no TD, so the inverse to the wager, is not available. So it gives the sportsbook free reign to just pump the line with vigorish, right? And having been in a sports group where, like, for example, the no run, yes run, first inning markets get called to a group of potentially 1,000 people at once, you see the line on books just get the life sucked out of it, not in like 10 minutes, but in like 60 seconds or less. So that means that when the other side of the line is growing, you have a site like Oddsjam that might actually see that activity occurring where certain triggers are hit, and the other side of the wager, despite the call being, the opposite, actually hitting a threshold of potential positive EV, right? Where you have value on the other side of it. So I think one of the big things when it comes to some of these smaller markets and the VIG and the juice and the way they're moving and things like that are really when you bet it and not about what you bet. So that's what's really cool about the product that I really like, is that you do have these real-time representations of value that sometimes can only last for a few seconds. And the parallels to that and what we do with live betting, Shane, as you know, being a member of inplayLIVE, like, we're watching the drive of an NFL game where if you didn't get the wager on 3rd down and 1, you didn't get the wager. You don't bet it now. That was the moment. That was the time, which is, of course, why we live stream it and play live. But the parallels there, regardless of the fact that it's live wagering or not, are crazy, because it can be this real sliver of a fraction of time where it's value or not, regardless of the outcome.
Pace bringing up the product. So I hadn't visited the Oddsjam website in quite a long time. Like, the last time I went there was probably several years ago. So, in preparation of this episode, of course, I went and checked it out. And dude, I was totally impressed. It is completely revamped from the last time I was there. The website looks very slick. And there's a whole bunch of new tools that are available, new to me anyway, from somebody who hasn't visited it in a long time. But it's much more than just comparing odds now, right?
Yeah, totally. I'd say, there's, like a lot of new types of companies have launched, like Prize Picks, for example, a platform that's gotten really hot in essentially is sports gambling, but it works in a different way. There's no odds, it's fixed payouts. And there are ways to get an edge on Prize Picks. But like, it's a slightly different strategy, right? They have fixed payouts. Any 2 picks you select you're always getting a 3x payout, putting down 100 to win 300. So like the strategy slightly changes of how do you get an edge? Well, you want to find picks that are more likely to win. So you want to compare the lines on prize picks to those on the sports books and see spots where books have a line, minus 180, like heavy favorites, Zay Flowers over 4.5 receptions. I think that's one play I got in this morning. But I guess people use different sports books and fantasy sites. Like that's what's very interesting about the US is like books are legal, but only in certain states. So someone in New Jersey may be really interested in Caesars, FanDuel, whereas someone in California is really interested in these fantasy sites, Prize Picks, Underdog Fantasy that have kind of taken off. So I guess, on Oddsjam, we just listen, I guess, more than other people and kind of try to listen to like, what do people want? Like, where are people betting? Where are they trying to get an edge? And where is there an edge? Like I would love to have a slots product, but like you can't get an edge in slots. So like where are there opportunities, discrepancies, like maybe some value for bettors, and like what can we kind of build around that? Because we never knew when we launched like Prize Picks and sites like that were really going to be popular, and just how big of an edge you can get on some of these platforms.
I want to ask you about that. When you launched, what was the purpose, and how has that purpose kind of changed over the years?
Yeah, so when we launched, I think it was mainly line shopping and then just showing big discrepancies between books when you could get more value on a specific sports book. FanDuel, DraftKings, Caesars. I would say overall it's pretty similar. Like it really is, trying to highlight out of all the sports books out there, Canada, wherever the user is, just like where's their value? And that's a starting point as a sports bettor. Like, again, I come from kind of a gambling background. Like trading is the hard part is there's thousands of different stocks, millions of different stock options. It's like you have to know what to look at a given time. Like if you pull up FanDuel for any NFL game, I mean, there are tens of thousands of lines you can bet. Anytime TD score, 2+ touchdowns, receiving yards, alt receiving yards, passing yards, alt passing yards. But like the hard part is just knowing like, okay, all these books have these lines, like, but where is there some value on FanDuel? And that's kind of like a starting point. I would say some people kind of know what they want to bet, and that's fine. Like obviously I follow a much more data-driven approach to my bets, but some people like come in with an idea, I want to be on Jamar Chase to score a touchdown. And, I mean, even if maybe the bet isn't, in my opinion, profitable, like they want to see where they can get the best price, where they can get the best odds. DraftKings, FanDuel, or Caesars, whatever books they use, like we help them solve that problem. Whereas some people may come in, I just want good NFL bets because, I'm going to be sitting there with my friends watching the games. And then some people come in with like, I want to, FanDuel has these 50% profit boosts on college football games tomorrow. I want to hedge those profit boosts and make a risk-free profit because I hate gambling. I just want to know like what are the best places I can use my profit boost and then hedge them on DraftKings to make a small profit, regardless of what happens, arbitrage. And like, we try to kind of cater to all those people.
You're really touching on the odds comparisons and those, the features there, but there's even more than that. When I was looking through it, right, you've got tracking tools, you've got arbitrage tools, right, middling tools, and pace. These are all kinds of things that we preach about at inplayLIVE, and totally. You've got similar tools as well on the inplayLIVE website, and we even did an episode recently with a sports book, probably one of the very few sports books out there that I would say align with the inplayLIVE values, and that was Pinnacle, that also has similar tools. Alex, do you think that these kinds of tools are being used enough in the sports betting industry as a whole?
No. I would say it's very interesting because if you think about the industry and like, this isn't meant to be like a conspiracy theory. It's just like the way it's built is right. All the people with money are incentivized to just push dumb stuff, right? Like FanDuel's just tweeting out, here's the 1 out of a million guys this weekend who won this crazy parlay. Why aren't you betting crazy parlays? Right? Like the whole industry is kind of geared to like FanDuel's not going to tell you to browse, compare their odds to DraftKings, right? So you kind of get this like thing where being smart and rational and data driven is like abnormal, because that's not what the books talk about. The books are promoting sports, showing highlights of Jamar Chase and just showing you these crazy same game parlays that probably have 70% vig. And it's a zero sum game. You make money or they make money. But like people get used to it, right? So it's kind of the norm. So when you start talking about like data or stuff like that, it's like some people are like, dude, like this is sports betting. You know, what are you talking about? And I would say it's like so many people I meet, they're very data driven in their day-to-day lives, right? They watch their credit card like a hawk. Oh, what's cheaper, you know, Netflix or Hulu? And they're so data driven. But then when it comes to sports betting, man, I watched Jamar Chase, you know, a couple of weekends ago. He had 3 touchdowns. I'm going to hammer his over on FanDuel. Is like, you know, people are so clueless. So I would say like part of it is just, it's not what the mainstreams are ever going to talk about. So for Oddsjam and, you know, for smarter bettors or people who have content that is smarter, it's kind of like you kind of have to like figure out how to get in front of those type of people, right? Who are used to just hearing the mainstream stuff. And it's going to sound abnormal to them because you're not used to hearing about it, right? Like you're just not used to hearing about it, at least on the main accounts, Barstool, FanDuel, DraftKings, all their commercials, right? This isn't what they're talking about. So it's not like what you're thinking about. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like poker, maybe. It's like when there's a lot of strategy, math behind poker. I feel like most people know that. But it's like, you know, when you kind of start, it's like, oh, I'm just going to bluff my way to big winnings. And it's like, well, you know, like maybe if you're playing against a bunch of like 6-year-olds, but like that's not going to really work. Like it's very mathematical. There's a strategy. But what's great about it, you know, poker, sports betting, is it's very accessible. So by that, I mean like, you know, you don't need a PhD to understand this type of stuff. Like getting plus 110 is better than minus 110. Most people, it clicks once they learn it. They just have to learn it and be open to learning it. But the issue is, you know, a lot of people just aren't open to learning and like aren't open to possibly changing. And also I think there is something where people who love sports feel like it's wrong to use data because you're just a numbers nerd. I'm a football guy, right? Like I do feel like there's a little bit of this nah, I know football too well to even think about numbers. Like there is a little bit of that.
Pace, any of this sounding familiar?
Well, you know, I mean, the thing is the people that you're referring to there, Alex, are the same people that probably say that the house always wins and that Oddsjam's a scam, right? You know, so, you know, the thing is like, I think on the mission of purifying the betting industry, I think that you brought up something that's really special, even though it wasn't related to winning specifically. And that was the Jamar Chase anytime touchdown bettor that doesn't care if it's a winning proposition long term, but they're getting the best price. And so when I look at a purified betting industry, you're describing a customer who is engaging in an activity that understands is designed for him to lose over time, that understands he's using entertainment money for entertainment purposes, that's not chasing, that might be making bad bets, but they're fun and entertaining bets. And I've always said this. How is that any different from someone going and spending some money to go play golf, to go to a movie, you know, whatever the case may be? Obviously, golf has a fitness element, but entertainment activities that are, you know, maybe you grab a beer on the couch and you just let go and you get to cheer for Jamar Chase, but you got the best price, even though it's a losing proposition, which means that over the course of time, you're still going to engage in all of those fun activities. Gambling is still gambling for you, but you're losing less because you did make a more informed and responsible decision. So that's precisely why inplayLIVE exists. And I think precisely why you're on the call with us today is because there are remarkable parallels, regardless of when, where, how, and why the bets were placed, with giving people these tools, giving people this information, giving this people this power. And the other side to that Jamar Chase bettor is they go, oh, wow, it really isn't working over the long term, but I do have access to this information now. You know what? Maybe I should make decisions that are not my own. Like, it is not a lock. There is only this theoretical value or lack thereof. And because of that, I can now begin engaging in winning practices. And that's all it takes, right? Pops up on the screen, like plus 20% EV situation. It wins. And you go, I would have never bet that. I would have never considered this wager. In fact, I thought the Cowboys couldn't lose this game, but the Cardinals found a way to do it. And this site just told me that the Cardinals actually had tremendous value in real time. You make that decision, and then all of a sudden everything changes, right? Maybe you don't play roulette the next time you go to the casino. Maybe you look at a sports book and you go, I'm actually not placing that parlay this week. I'm going to stick to this winning formula. And I know as a sports bettor myself that was a recreational player, once you engage in these winning decisions, it's actually hard to stop engaging in them. It's easier to continue to pursue your long-term success because the dopamine no longer comes from the gambling, it comes from the winning. And in order to win over the long term, you have to continue to engage in those positive EV experiences.
Totally. And it very much is like kind of what you mentioned is if someone's betting, let's say $10 a week, they're throwing down a parlay on their favorite team, is, none of this is as big of a deal. But the problems really start, I feel like, for some people who they start to see, and they don't know what they're doing. Because in general, these people are not educated. They have zero desire to learn, but they see these big parlay wins and they think about their debts or whatever. And that's kind of the problem I see kind of with the industry is like some people, it's like, fun, like a 30-cent parlay, whatever. I'll throw one together with my friends for this game. But a lot of it is like, whenever people hear, hey, get rich quicks, right? You get a lot of people who take that way too seriously and start putting a lot of money on these bets with zero clue what they're doing. And, gambling brings a lot of joy to my life. And it doesn't take that much time to do these things. Like I hear a lot of people like, man, I got to sign up for DraftKings. It's like, dude, you sign up for DraftKings. They give you a free $250. It takes 20 seconds. Like, oh man, I got to sign up and get a free $250. And it's like, oh my God. And like, it really is this get rich quick thing because when I started sports betting, probably the first sports betting customer in the United States on a legal book, I was living on the Pennsylvania, New Jersey border. So those are the first two states, or maybe first two of three to legalize. So I was just arbitrage betting, hit two bets, make a risk-free profit of $10, $20, and it builds up. But there's so many people who like, why would I do that when I saw this guy cashed a $1 to 900,000 parlay or 90,000? It's like, your stuff's dumb when I can place these degenerate 26 leg parlays with no idea what I'm doing, take everyone to score a touchdown on Sunday. Why would you want to make, why slow and steady if you can get rich quick? And like that, I feel like is really the entire industry is everyone wants to get rich quick. Nobody even wants to play straight bets now. If you look nowadays on social media, straight bets, like it's all these crazy parlays and like that's get rich quick, It's interesting.
I think you've nailed it there, right? This is an industry built around the idea of you can get rich quick. And the fact is that, well, no, you can't. You will lose money quick, but there is a way to get rich, and it's just not quick. And it takes a lot of hard work, and it takes a lot of time and effort. And how do you convince people of that, though, Alex? Like, how do you convince somebody who's a recreational sports bettor who has been sort of, conditioned to think that if I'm going to bet on sports, I need to make a big parlay so that I can get rich quick, that's not the way?
I think I don't ever think it will be mainstream. And I know this sounds horrible to say, but like being a smart bettor, I mean, just like being, starting my career in trading kind of introduced me to this world of like how much of the financial industry is just people making Wall Street money who understand the math, who just want to get rich quick. GameStop, you saw it, right? Everyone trying to get in, trying to get rich quick. And a lot of people lost a lot of money. Some people made money, really, but like everyone wants kind of the quick hit. What's the option that's going to make me $50,000, right? And what stocks can go up 30% today? Like that's what people want. That's what they talk about. And this industry's been around forever. But that's still what people want. And it's not a way to get rich, which is invest, save a portion of your money, diversify. Like that's boring. 8% a year is what the stock market does. Screw that. Like I'm trying to make, $50,000 off $10 this weekend. But I do think there's a subset of people who, unfortunately, like a lot of people just don't get it, right? They want to get rich quick, and I'm not sure what the solution is there, because it's the entire financial industry in many ways, trading, options in general. But I would say, like in sports betting, there's a certain subset of people who are willing to learn, which I feel like is just a quality and a personality trait, right? Like some people want to improve. I always want to, like when I started poker, it's like I wanted to learn how to beat other people. I mean, first of all, it makes more money. I don't understand how you can just be like, nah, man, I don't want to learn. I just want to play for fun. But like I enjoyed going to casinos, gambling, beating other people. Like it was fun. It was a hobby, but I also like wanted to win, right? I wanted to win money. So I was willing to put in the work, learn, buy courses, whatever. And I think like it's the same thing with sports betting is like there's so much information at this point. It's so accessible. You don't need a PhD. Most of this stuff is, finding a middle bet. Jamar Chase's line is 70 live on DraftKings, 100 live on FanDuel. Hey, maybe take the over, maybe take the under. Like we see people, a lot of Oddsjam customers, right? They're not all math nerds. There's a lot of people without college degrees, a ton, who are sports fans. But what makes them different, I feel like, is they absorbed information. Once they learned how to bet, they like kind of get it. And even if they don't pay for our tools, like a lot of them, like we have pretty big followings on social media who just like, they're not going to pay. They don't bet enough to be interested in a product, but they understand it enough where like, that's what they want to get their picks from. They want to see where the value is on Prize Picks, stuff like that. So, yeah, but it's just like people who are willing to learn, I feel like.
Good pace. I think Alex is touching on a lot of the things that you talk about when you and I are having conversations on the show and off the show about, inplayLIVE and wanting to attract the right kind of members, right? People who are willing to grow, willing to learn, willing to embrace something new. And at inplayLIVE, it's exactly that. It's betting live.
Totally. I think people that know my story are listening to Alex's story and going like, hey, do these guys know that their story's the same?
There's so many parallels here.
It's crazy. Anyways, it's great stuff. And I think ultimately, inplayLIVE, one of the really cool things, obviously, about our whole ecosystem is obviously the community where those customers that are this person who is willing to learn coming together and having conversations where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, and that's where you can start to actually, beyond, obviously I know the data is so important in sports, but beyond the data, start to test things, to develop data that you didn't even know that you were looking for in the first place, and that's where the power of these types of minds coming together can really benefit. And I think that with Oddsjam and inplayLIVE specifically, that's again another thing where the sum can be greater than its parts because of the right people getting access to said data, the right people getting access to this information. And especially when you take an inplayLIVE customer whose mind is trained to win, that knows that there's value beyond any one particular line. Just an outlying line is a great indicator of value. And I would say like sports betting from the standpoint of an educational journey where you go, hey, how do I find value? I would say the most elementary form where you don't need the game on is an outlying line. Is it going to win? Who the hell knows?
Right.
But give me volume with that outlying line, and let's see how I perform over time. And then you take consistencies where, a site like Oddsjam might be putting up a certain sports book in a certain scenario that you are noticing a pattern where you go, hey, is there something more here than meets the eye beyond the data? And what is happening in this particular scenario that's allowing for these lines to pop in this spot? And that's where beautiful things can happen long term. And Also, I'm sure, Alex, we haven't touched on this yet, but sports betting is a cat and mouse game. You win some money and you might not be welcome to continue to play on said website or said hundreds, or in our case, potentially thousands of websites that we've been kicked off of. So, you do have to obviously continually be finding new strategies, finding new opportunities, looking into
Totally.
new ways to keep the journey going, if this is what you're passionate about and if this is what you're going to continue to do long term. So, new avenues, new doors opening, and learning. Like, geez, is it so hard to learn something new on a weekly or daily basis? Like, I find the more people that you talk to, the more people you engage with, especially when you get like-minded people, there's nothing but upside. Yeah, you run into some idiots, but you can still learn from them, right? So
that brings us to this next portion here. I love that we're talking about learning from each other, working together, like-minded people. Clearly, that's what we've got here with this group right now. And so we have a big announcement to make. I say we give it over to our guest of honor, over to Alex. Alex, do you want to tell the community, the inplayLIVE community, and even those recreational sports bettors who aren't a part of our community but are a part of our audience, what's the big announcement?
We're going to be partnering together, and we're more than thrilled to all work together to hopefully try to bring the best information and tools to anyone who wants them, anyone who's willing to learn, wants to be better, and couldn't be more excited. Not every bet's going to win, but I can guarantee you, listening to this podcast and just kind of really taking some time to also understand what's going on, why you're doing what you're doing, right? It's a process, and it really is the process. It's not always the specific bet, right? Is really the key. So doing things like listening to this podcast consistently and trying to get an understanding of how the market works. So what's going to make you a lot of money in sports betting long term.
Give us the details behind the agreement here. How does it work? How can people take advantage of it?
I forgot the specific code. Pace, I'll let you give the exact code.
I was going to say, yeah, some of our negotiations haven't been face to face. They've been with other members of the team, which has gone extremely well. But I think from my standpoint, like obviously being the founder of inplayLIVE with Raj there, we're both really excited, and we're excited for the prospect of the inplayLIVE community to be able to work with Oddsjam in a couple of different ways. The first is going to be my access to the Oddsjam interface and product, which is a net benefit to our members. I'm obviously reading games based on our data, and I'm reading games based on what I'm seeing going down on the field. And I've never had access to, okay, what is this particular, machine learning and AI system that's comparing lines, telling us about what value's out there. So that's another overall sort of addition to the community, with just having the pros that call our wagers in real time, having access to the Oddsjam product. And that's already actually gone underway. So some people don't realize that some of the calls that we've made are potentially based on, a line that we've seen pop up at Oddsjam. And to give you guys a really good example of that, take things one step further, like Alex won't be familiar with this, but Kenny, what Kenny does in the NFL. So now I'm really speaking directly to our community and not necessarily the public, but what Kenny does in the NFL. He's going to find that line a lot quicker and be able to announce it for us sooner because of his access to the easier shopping is what I would simply put from that standpoint. Now, this episode is airing the day after NBA has started. So what's really exciting about this partnership is that the NBA, I believe to be the single, and I could be wrong on this, but it's my belief, the single sport with the biggest discrepancies in live lines. And because of that, the inplayLIVE community has seen more 5- and 6-figure club success stories, especially the start of their journey, but not only the start of their journey, the ability to mitigate risk through continual success through some of our NBA strategies. And we're going to be able to be doing a limited amount of sharing of the tools that allow us really in the NBA to exploit them in real time, which is a lot of fun. And that's going to be powered by Oddsjam. And then finally is for all the inplayLIVE members that are thinking like, oh, this product is really cool. this does sound great. Like Alex does have a lot of parallels with Pace. This could be a good step in my personal betting journey. So I'm not referring to some new guy in our community, but the guys that have made $10,000, the guys that have made $100,000, the guys that have made millions of dollars. It's just a no-brainer. You sign up for Oddsjam, you get a free trial, so you can test it out. And if you use the promo code inplayLIVE15, you're going to get a discount in perpetuity to the Oddsjam platform, so that you can do a lot of this stuff if you want to on your own. And I don't view that in any way, shape, or form as a replacement to the inplayLIVE product. I simply view it as a complement. A lot of pregame betting that we don't do at inplayLIVE, even though there is an element of pregame that we do, you're going to have access to some really great lines, some really great real-time value propositions, kind of like what we were touching on earlier, where it might be a line that's a short period of time, but you're sitting there at your setup and boom, a 10% EV wager pops through in your notifications, and you fly over to BetMGM, or you fly over to FanDuel, or you fly over to Pinnacle, and bang, you've got that wager in. And we haven't touched on this, so maybe Alex, you can touch on this, but the wager tracking system, can you maybe just touch on that for a second? Because that's something that you get access to as well with subscription, right?
No, our bet tracker is free. I mean, I'd say a lot of our users are betting bets they find on the tools. So not that there's not a lot of bet trackers, I mean, out there, but Oddsjam does have a bet tracker, where you can add things from the tools or just from the site as you browse around odds. That's pretty popular. It's mainly useful for users just because people who don't pay for Oddsjam, I mean, they can use our bet tracker, fine, but like a lot of the value goes away because there's a ton of bet trackers out there. So why use Oddsjam if you're not using the Oddsjam software type of thing? But yeah, just kind of like, I mean, I'd say bet tracker in general doesn't even have to be Oddsjam, whatever one you're using, even a spreadsheet, like it's just important, which is why we invested in it. We don't charge for it, but like, I mean, at the end of the day, right, if you go through a year of sports betting and if you're placing bets every day, you're not like, it's not going to be easy to tell if you're if you're up money or you're down money and how much and where did you lose, right? Like, did you make money on player props or where did your success come from? So a lot of people, like, they decide they want to change their sports betting strategy when they see their results because it hits them in the face. Like, oh, I'm down 30% on parlays. I guess my crazy 15-leg strategy that I've used the past few years doesn't work. So yeah, Oddsjam, syncs with a lot of sports books, will automatically grade bets and stuff like that. And yeah.
I love that you brought up the tracker though, and the fact that, there's a lot of tracking tools out there, that you could potentially utilize. Where you don't find any tracking tools? On the places where you place bets, right? On the sports books. And there's a reason for that, right? They don't want you tracking your wagers, right? It's
a lot you can't even see your profit. It's like pulling teeth. It's like, like, how much money am I up? It's like, your total amount won is $100,000. It's like, that's not what I asked. How much profit? I don't care about the amount of bets I've won. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, so guys, I would just say there, Shane, just from the Oddsjam standpoint, like a lot of great free tools, a lot of amazing calculators that are 100% designed to help you improve arbitrage, expected value, bonuses, implied probabilities, Kelly criterion, what the fair odds would be if there's no vig, odds converters, parlay calculators, all that kind of stuff is over on the website. Check it out. And for the group, like at a minimum, sign up for the free trial for 7 days. Like, how do you not do that? And just remember, if you want that discount, it's inplayLIVE15.
Well, I will certainly be taking advantage of it and checking it out, and really, really looking forward to that, and looking forward to seeing this live product in action. I think that's really, really cool. Alex, is there anything you want to tell us about that before we say goodbye?
No, I mean, just exactly what Pace said before is just when you're live betting, like, you can't expect whatever alert to be around in 6 minutes. If the Steelers money line is good on 3rd and 1, it may be a completely different thing if they, throw an interception the next play. Like, these things move quick. So most of my volume comes pre-match, like 98% of mine, And it's not because live betting isn't profitable, but you got to be on it. You got to be logged into the sports books, I would say. You got to be quick. And there may be sometimes too. I mean, you guys probably experience it all the time. You're trying to get down a bet. The sports books take a little long to load or accept the bet if it's live, and then they blast his line down. I think just live betting, everything is going at, 30x times the pace. So it's not like pre-match lines don't move. Obviously they do, but when you're live betting, you got to be on it.
Yeah, Alex, you're definitely speaking. We know a little bit about that. We would love to probably have you join us for a live betting session. We'll bring you up to speed on how to stay up to it, because there's a serious learning curve there. And you're absolutely right. 6 minutes, forget 6 minutes. Pace, it's more like 6 seconds.
6 seconds. Yeah. Hey, we're ready.
We'd love to have you on a live stream or something, Alex, and have you participate. I think that'd be pretty cool. Yeah,
absolutely. 100%.
All right. Okay. Well, I think this is an amazing partnership. I'm really looking forward to seeing where it goes. This is a huge win, I think, for both sides, the inplayLIVE community, as well as Oddsjam. And for all of you out there listening that aren't a part of either of these groups, just please take in some of what these guys are saying in terms of learning, growing, becoming a better sports bettor. It is possible to win long-term at sports betting. We got 2 guys here who are a testament to that. All right, guys. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Alex, look forward to working with you and chatting with you again at some point in the future. And Pace, I guess both of you guys, till next time, keep beating those books. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Behind the Lines. Remember to like, download, and subscribe. We are on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcasts. Have a betting story or want to be featured on our podcast? Drop a note in the comments below. And if you want to join inplayLIVE, use promo code BehindTheLines.